of Economic Development. Sir, may we invite you now to lead the way in the lighting of the oil lamp. And joining him to also light the oil lamp and bestow their blessings this morning, may I now invite Mr. Lalit Veeratunga, Secretary to His Excellency the President, Mr. Ajit Nivad Cabral, Governor, Central Bank, Sri Lanka, Mr. Amir Durrani, Senior Trade and Transport Specialist, World Bank, Pakistan. Once again at Sri Lanka, leading in the global marketplace through logistics, perception versus reality. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Lalit Nrsimha.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed pleasure and privilege to be here to talk about perception and reality in the context of logistics in Sri Lanka. In marketing theory, they say that perception is indeed reality, which makes my task of differentiating such debatable synonyms much more difficult. Nevertheless, I will try to do my utmost to make your next 40 minutes a meaningful one. A commonly used definition described logistics as having the right thing at the right place at the right time. Controlling logistics cost allows companies to maintain a competitive edge, since lower logistics costs translate into competitive external trades. There are a number of activities that lie within the realm of logistics in which transportation and related issues would be the focus for my presentation. What are the modes of transportation? There is no answer. I will give the answer. The basic modes are water, rail, road, air, and pipeline, which is not much in talk. Water is the slowest mode, with rail, road, and air following the order of speed of delivery. Generally, the order should be reversed by looking at cost or other commercial reasons. Geographic context of Sri Lanka creates barriers for certain modes of connectivity. To be more specific, we have no overseas link via rail or road. The air transport has the least geographical barriers, but that has other logistical constraints. Being an island, the given other comparative advantages, the sea transport has realized the best option in the Sri Lankan context. It is believed that 90% of world tonnage is transported by sea. This figure is even higher in the Sri Lankan context. Can you see how many colors can you see in this pie chart? Can I have an answer for that at least? You can see basically only one color, because what happens is you hardly see the air transport presence in the pie chart. Nevertheless, of course, it plays an important role with regard to high value and light-weighted cargo. You can see a slight, white line there that represents less than 1% of the Sri Lankan logistics. This is the main sea route that the east of the world connects to the west. And you can see it runs close to Sri Lanka. Do you think that this phenomenon has any importance to Sri Lanka? No answers from the audience. Right? Well, I give the answer. This fact actually makes the fundamental difference of logistics performance in Sri Lanka. The shipping density, which is represented in red color in this graph, is very high near the southern part of Sri Lanka. Experts from various fields believe that the country is located strategically along the Silk Route. This is considered to be the busiest sea route in the world with shipping is a derived demand of the international trading activities. As a result, the type of commodities that a country is importing or exporting will be instrumental in the type of ships for a particular country. Accordingly, container ships plays a major role in the logistics in Sri Lanka. So we are narrowing our scope down. Logistics, and then we have transport modes. Out of transport modes, we are leaving out a couple of transport modes that are not getting involved in the international trade. And then finally we are coming on to ships, and from there we have to narrow it down to containerization because of the particular ships that call Colombo are container ships, mainly. What do you understand from this graph? This is about global trend of container shipping. This graph illustrates that the global trend in container shipping is having a steep rising trend except the year 2009 due to world recession. That has placed Sri Lanka in a very demanding position in the global logistics scenario. The manner that Sri Lanka has been catering to the global logistics demand during the recent years are analyzed based on the number of ships here. You can see that 79% are container ship. Represents on the first line. Sri Lanka is strategically located in such a way that more than 17 ports can be fed very economically. So in this particular competitive route analysis, the many technical factors were taken into consideration, but due to the time factor, just refer to the last column only. The total marginal cost of Colombo is considerably lower compared to other ports. For the sake of simplicity, the most crucial data is reproduced in a perceptual mapping. The area shaded in green represents the combination of port access cost and deviation time from the main east-west sea route. This mapping assures that Colombo and many other ports in Sri Lanka for that matter will occupy the ideal zone on merit. There are various talks about the Valappadam port. The new entrant Valappadam is not appearing in this mapping. Valappadam port in Cochin is considered to be the first ever dedicated transshipment and gateway hub in India. Given the inherent maritime advantages of Sri Lanka and the untouched volume growth in India, Sri Lanka should not necessarily be pessimistic over the Valappadam port. It is vital to be aware of some specific details with regard to other modes. Despite that shipping we are taking ahead, because the logistics performance in the domestic context also have an impact on the country's global stand when you want to transport those containers to a port. The total road network in Sri Lanka as at 2009 was 28,960 kilometers, while Central Province accounts for 3,967 kilometers, which is the highest road kilometerage by province. There were 180,739 goods transporting vehicles as at 2009, in which 81,767 vehicles were from the Western Province. As at 2009, the length of broad gauge rail route was 1,150 kilometers. The goods hauled by rail in Sri Lanka were only 114 million ton kilometers. Both trucking and rail costs exceed those in Bangladesh and India. The railway sector accounts for only about 1% of freight movements and is characterized by a large cost structure. Pipeline mode for domestic oil transportation is presently used by Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Indian Oil Company. There are three factors influencing with regard to the logistics context, influencing the delivery speed of this mode. That is the diameter of the pipe length, and the tank head, that is the distance between the tank bottom up to the supply pipeline. There are 5 pipelines, namely Sapugaskanda, Dolphin, Muthurajavela, Trinco and North Pier in Sri Lanka. The North Pier line is exclusively used for the bunkering purposes, which directly contribute to the global logistics, as the oil transported via this pipeline will be supplied to ships to make their journey uninterrupted. Although the pipeline is a cost-effective mode, in the Sri Lankan context, you may have heard newspaper and TV last few weeks. The Sri Lankan context, the maintenance of pipeline should be scrutinized in order to reap its real cost benefit to the country, because the spillage cost may supersede its savings otherwise. Regarding terminal, there are over 20 container terminal and depot operators in Sri Lanka, all located surrounding Colombo. Transshipment container traffic handled by Colombo is the major contributor to Sri Lanka's logistics performance. It signifies 75% of total volume of the Port of Colombo, in which the domestic cargo contributes only 25. First, I will take up the domestic cargo. Domestic laden exports and imports show an encouraging growth, no doubt of. However, given the limited size of Sri Lanka's domestic market, the target of achieving 8 or 10% growth that our central bank governor was talking about in the morning, it cannot be met without a significant improvement in export performance. Both export product categories and destinations need to be diversified. There is a crucial factor reveals from these statistics. 28% of domestic container handling is attributed to empty container movements. The logistics professionals need to be innovative to overcome the industry challenges. They should develop their own business models. But on the other hand, the authorities should be committed to the national interest, irrespective of whatever the background they represent. One must admit that both parties need attitude changes, especially the government bodies, unfortunately. There is a lot of positives in the development work that takes place in our country. Though constructive criticism is minimal, there is a lot of negative criticism prevalent, mostly based on personal agendas. Now we need to realize the implications of such attitudes. For instance, ease of doing business and connected to compete rankings are mostly based on industry feedback. Thus, negative feedback can result in our own country ranking lower, which in turn will negatively impact the industry growth. So let's not look up and spit on our own selves. There is a lot of presumably work various government institutions and universities using public money, which unfortunately is not available to the private sector use. For an example, researchers carried out on maritime and transport related topics at the cost of public funds should be circulated within the industry associations such as CASA, Ceylon Association of Ships Agents. We as members of CASA are disseminating our industry knowledge to the undergraduates in the University of Colombo. Similarly, I personally do not see any logic of hiding research work if they are genuine work. Some time back, when I was doing a research on marketing practices in shipping industry in Sri Lanka, at the literature review, I consulted many logistics associations as to refer to any previous work being done under similar topic in Sri Lanka, but none were available. With the development of ICT, many useful data can be extracted from databases of respective authorities. However, most of decision making, especially in new projects, are done based on mere assumption and hypothesis. Having data is no use unless there is a formal system of sending them through a brain process of a given industry and converting them to a real information for their new endeavor. Thank you, all of you, for your patience, and look forward to working with all of you towards uplifting logistics performance in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
They are looking at